Hello, and welcome to the Path of Most Persistence. This is a place where we hear and share tenacious stories of overcoming obstacles with our partners who dare to share a bit of their own personal paths.
Dr. Valentini Pappa was born in Ioannina, Greece. She was the first in her family to leave Greece to study abroad in 2004, after she earned her first degree and received a competitive scholarship from the State Scholarship Foundation. Subsequently, she moved to Edinburgh, Scotland, for the master's degree in environmental science and sustainability at the University of Edinburgh. In 2005, Dr. Pappa continued her studies toward a PhD in environmental engineering and policy. Since January 2016, she has been living in Texas, working for the Texas A&M University. Dr. Pappa is preparing for the next step in her career, beginning a new position as the manager of graduate office at Texas A&M University at Qatar, in addition to leading the Texas A&M University Clean Energy Education and Empowerment Initiative, involving the Department of Energy, MIT, and Stanford Energy. Dr. Pappa, it is so nice to have you today. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me today. It's my pleasure to share my experiences and some of my stories.
This is a wonderful collaboration. We were connected by a colleague that we, I think, both mutually respect and hold dear. But one of the things, as he was sharing this information, your information with me about the possibility of having this chat, was that I think your organization, your work, truly aligns with what we try to do in NPI. Of course, your scope is much broader and wider, but I really appreciate all the partnerships that you try to secure, the work that you do. And before I say anything more, I would really like to hear from you what it is you do, what your organization does, and a little bit about your studies and what got you here.
Sure. Thank you again. So I started, my studies in 2004 back in Edinburgh, and I remember the time that I announced that to my father, that he has, he's a typical Greek, that he's not accepting, especially his daughter, to move away from the family and away from the traditions, if you like, also that a Greek family has. And he was very sad, I would say, for a few years. I was going back and forth. And he was saying, especially when I mentioned to him that I'm living abroad just to do a master program, he said, "No, you're not going." That was his response. Yeah. So I said, "Well, I will go." And he was like, who is going to pay for that? I said, I will get a scholarship. So then I got very persistent, and I got a scholarship that you mentioned. And he was actually heartbroken when actually I got the scholarship and I had, I left.
Yes.
For a few years until actually I received my PhD. So that was 2010. He was always, asking me to go back, and he, at that point, he realized that I was doing something better. I was doing something better for myself and, for the world, if you like. And he got very smooth on that. So I went to Edinburgh. I did my master there and my PhD. I had wonderful colleagues working all that time. I stayed there for about 10 years. I did a postdoc also, and I work as a researcher. And then after being away, for 10 years from Greece, it was actually the point that I said, okay, I'll go back to Greece for a couple of years, or a couple of months, actually. It was about a year that I went back. And that was the point that I was looking for my next move. And the opportunity to come here in the U.S. Came up, and I actually decided, I'll do that step. I was single back then, and so I moved to the U.S. and the Aggie family, welcomed me. So I was very happy, to be here. I started as the academic program coordinator at the Texas A&M Energy Institute, and then I got promoted as an assistant director for education. And a few months ago, I decided that we, and I say we as a family, me and my husband and my little daughter, we wanted to be closer to Greece, so as to have the help of the family. And the opportunity to work for Texas A&M Qatar came up, and I have already started my position there from distance as the manager of the graduate office there.
Okay, you've said so many amazing things, so I'm going to have to back up, and we'll, move forward and back up. So please bear with me.
Sure.
So I want to go back to a few of your initial comments about your father. So I, as a parent, I understand the struggle it is to let your children leave the nest, as they say.
Absolutely.
But that, as a child of a parent that really does not want you to leave, how did you find that? And you used the word persistence, and this is the path of most persistence. So does that persistence, that strength come to you naturally, or did you really have to dig deep and really stay focused on ways so that you could pursue your dreams and still not be very in line with your father's desires?
So I was more focused on that I would really to do something more.
Yes.
And also I liked a lot traveling. I remember the first time we traveled together, not far away from Greece. We traveled actually to Cyprus, and I was so excited, with all the traveling, the planes and stuff. So it's kind of, and I really enjoyed traveling. So I said, okay, I would like to go to Edinburgh. I did my research, on the best schools and what is aligned more on my interests, and got really persistent, to get that funding, And I would say I would share with you this. Before that moment, I was actually afraid of giving exams. I was really afraid of. I was failing also, a lot of times, mainly because of the fear that I will fail. At that moment, it was actually all of a sudden a switch happened on me, and I passed, obviously, these exams, and I got a Greek scholarship. And since then, it was kind of everything was natural. I think I really wanted to do that. He could see that I really wanted also to do that, and that's why I think he kind of balanced himself on my dreams and my desires.
That is so rewarding, and how lovely that he's evolved to seeing in that way. And I think probably too, as a child of your father, and also he as your father, it's so rewarding because you're probably able to do things that he may or may not have ever dreamt of himself.
I would say that my mom was like that. My mom, she dedicated herself to grow us. So we are 3 children. She had 3 children. So it's me and my 2 brothers. And she spent all her life actually on us, caring for us, and still does that. So she was she was not working. So she really liked to do things, but then she decided, no, I'll stay at home and and spend my life to you. So she's still very supportive on a lot of things.
That's
and she truly understands that now that I'm working and I have a little one, how the life working balance is kind of trickier than before.
It's very tricky. Yes. I appreciate that, and I think sometimes too, when we have mothers such as that, I think that it amazes me with their generosity, because they maybe perhaps chose a different life or a different path than we did, but that they still can respect and encourage your path that was so different than theirs. And I think that is such a beautiful, selfless aspect to, and I say mothers because we're talking about your mom, about that. And I feel the same about my mother. But I think with each new accomplishment or each step I take away from her path, I always like to tell her all those achievements are yours. Because of your sacrifices, I've been able to do this, and all that belongs to you too.
And the continued support, I would say, the continued support that you always know know that they are always there for you, to give you an advice, even if they don't know, because to be realistic, there are older people than us, the generation gap, and they don't know all the information we provide to them.
Yes.
But they're still there, they listen, and they will give that advice that they can give with their own, thoughts. And it's going to be full of love. That's very important.
That is so true, because you're right. They may not know the specifics of your situation or your program or your research, but they just know good basic wisdom. Yeah. And that never goes out of style, no matter what your age is,
That's
I
right.
think. Yes,
That's right.
really
That's
nice.
right.
Well, what I want to turn to now is your new position that you're going to be moving very soon to Qatar, that you had mentioned. Can you tell us about that opportunity, how it came about, and what it will look like once you're there?
Sure. So I started looking, for a position. I have visited Qatar twice in the past, and the first time was both times were through the Energy Institute. So the first time I went by myself. The second time my husband came with me because he heard so many things from me from my first trip. Yes. So he was very curious. Okay, how why is he so excited about the place? Yes. Why is he likes the whole city so much? So we, after visiting Qatar, both of us, we decided that might be the place, for our next move.
Yes.
And so I kept looking on the website for opportunities that will come up. And there were a few at the same time that the opportunities that came up, and applied for all of them. And luckily, I think I was better fit for this position through my experience, my previous experience through the Energy Institute. And so I started as the manager of the graduate office. Now with my new role, I have more responsibilities than before. Obviously, it's for the whole university, and but it's very exciting because I will still work with students. I will still work with faculty. I think that's something that gives me energy, and I always like to work with students.
Yes.
Mainly because you learn so much from them. Obviously, they learn from you, but at the same time, you learn so much from them, and there are always. It's kind of another way to stay in line with a generation gap, because you keep learning from them.
Absolutely.
And so on this new position, I will take care mainly of the graduate office and all the procedures from recruiting, from the applications, a student from the beginning, very beginning, from the application stage up to the graduation will build that relationship throughout the years there. Which is very exciting.
Absolutely. That is thrilling to me. And I was looking over your information in preparation for today's chat, and I thought, oh my goodness, this is such a rich opportunity, especially with your rich background. I'm excited about that. And I want to know definitely what your first initiatives will be. But just for the sake of our audience, too, I don't know how aware some of our audience is or would be that Texas A&M has a university at Qatar.
Yes.
So can you talk a little bit about that? How big the university is, what that campus looks like?
Sure. I mean, the university, the Texas A&M at Qatar, started, if I'm not mistaken, 19 years back. I think the next year is the 20th year. So there will be a celebration.
Wonderful.
So it started, many years back. So the Texas A&M has 4 departments: chemical engineer, mechanical, electrical, and petroleum engineering. And obviously it's the science and liberal arts department there. So it's a part of what they call Education City. And the Education City are major universities from the U.S. that they are there. And so it's like the Georgetown or the Carnegie Mellon. They have campuses there. It's a much smaller size than the Texas A&M here, but it is also nice because it's let's say a smaller family, so know everybody, and so that gives you the opportunity, to meet everyone and work on procedures, and it's much easier, I think on a lot of things. So Texas A&M, so the dean there is the Dean Malave, and then the Dean on Education person in student affairs is Dr. Konomu, and the dean on research is Dean Bazi. So when I went there for my visits, I met all these people, and it was very exciting, to also, have a feeling for the people and the building and, the people that you will work with.
Yes.
So that was also another, let's say, plus why I wanted, I was looking mainly to go there.
It had a certain feeling, and you felt like this was a good place for you.
Yeah, it was nice, yeah.
I think that's something I think that we all like to share with students. Each campus, no matter where you are, each campus has its own culture, its own feeling, and students need to figure out what works best for them, not only obviously students, but faculty and staff as well. So that's wonderful.
Absolutely. I mean, the campus there, when I visited, they have amazing facilities on the labs. Their labs are amazing. I think it's top notch. I haven't seen such a good quality of labs here at Texas A&M. And, they are open to students, and the exchange of students between the main campus, College Station and Qatar, it's something that I will highly promote throughout the years, and because it's a great opportunity for the students from here to go and spend, let's say, 2 semesters there, work with a faculty there. They will expose themselves in something new. They will meet more people, faculty and students, and also they will have the opportunity to live for a while on a different culture, which is, I think it's exciting and amazing, especially when you're young, you gain experiences.
And to have that perspective, too, because when you grow up in a particular country and you haven't traveled much, you only have your perspective, and it's lovely to travel to other countries and understand how other perspectives, but to see how people do things. You can learn so much and enrich what you're doing, I'm sure. And it's all lovely, of course, when you're within the A&M system, of
Absolutely.
course, too.
I mean, because you feel the safety, you feel and it's the similar, pattern and everything on a lot of things. And especially for the students there, I think they are really keen and open to learn more about the culture of Texas A&M.
Yes.
One thing that actually I would like also to add why Texas A&M at Qatar, why I have chosen that place. I'll tell you one more thing that came to my mind. When I visited one of the 2 times, I met a few females, and I talked to them about, let's say, empowerment and, leadership, and, we had a long chat with them. I got so much inspired, I would say, of their thirst to learn and to get educated. I have never came across the thirst to learn, the thirst to learn more. They really wanted to go one step higher on their education. They really wanted their help and support of someone, or the guidance from someone to actually guide them of which is a good school, why to choose that, why it will be good for them, And it was kind of, let's say, placing a seed on my head that I think, there are a lot of women, especially in Qatar, and I think in the region, that they really want to get educated.
Yes.
And to have a decent job.
Yes.
So, but they need some support, and they need, some guidance. And that was something that really grew on me. That's an area, that I could offer more help, if you like.
I love that you brought that up, and let's talk more about that. So, when you come across students, and in this particular situation, they're female students, they're women students, that have such a thirst for knowledge and in education and wanting to do more, what does that do for you as a professor, as an educator, as someone who is herself so invested in knowledge? What does that do for you when you come across individuals that way?
So what I will definitely do is I will try to support them with any possible way. I mean, I would say, my parents, they didn't know, what to advise me. They were coming from a different background than what I'm currently on. But when you are on a similar, background, I will definitely try to advise them and to show them a path, which I'm not saying it's the right or wrong, but or show them the possible paths. Because a lot of new students that don't know their options, well, if I do that, what afterwards? If I do the next one, what afterwards?
They may not know those are even paths available.
Exactly. So I try mainly, to do that, to talk with them and share with them and put them in contact with other people when I will find out what their main interests or the areas that they want to work on. I think the best thing that we can do to the newer students, to the young students, is to give them the information. And obviously, when you're young, you have, let's say, an idea of what you want to do, where you want to go. Yes. But as you grow, you don't know, you really want to, you might have done a different things in your life. So when you know though the results, then it might be easier for you to choose. Okay, yes. Because for example, a lot of students, they want to do a degree and then go to work on the industry, or they want to do a degree and then go to continue the academia. These are different routes, but if they decided to switch in between, that doesn't mean they do something wrong. So I think they have that feeling, what if, which is fair enough and acceptable, but it's kind of, let's say, make it smoother that uncertainty feeling that they may feel, like, I'll try that, I usually try that.
That's wonderful that you do that for them, and having more knowledge is, in every situation, I think, is a good thing, because even if you don't directly use it, it will enlighten, it will inspire other areas of your life, without a doubt. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. But can you talk about some of the initiatives that you're hoping to start once you're there, and what you're hoping to accomplish?
Sure. Well, I'm involved in a few initiatives already. Mm-hmm. That I will continue working on those even if I am in Qatar, and that is it is very exciting and challenging at the same time. So when I was within the Energy Institute, I was leading what we call C3E, which means Clean Energy, Education and Empowerment. So the C3E, it was an initiative that I attended. And I think it's 2017, back at MIT. And when I went there and I came back and I went to our director at the Energy Institute, I said to him, we should get involved. I mean, this is a great opportunity. We really have to get involved with this. And they were looking for a partner from Texas. Yes. So we collaborated since then, and we hosted in 2019 the first symposium here at Texas A&M College Station, with about 220 women attending from across the U.S. And obviously the event is live. It's a live broadcasted, so everybody can also watch it and get inspired if you like. This year we also it's our turn again to host that event, and it's going to be in Washington D.C. It is the first in-person event after the 2019, because 2020 and 2021 was the COVID, so it was all virtual. So we are thrilled again that we are the ones that they're coming back, let's say, to us in person. But we decided to do it in a little bit more central location so as to attract more people. Yes. And luckily, Texas A&M has a location there, and they will be our hosts at the Bush School there.
Oh, outstanding. So
it's a brand new facility. It's a beautiful, location, and something else, for us to explore, if you like, with them. So that is one initiative, which is, as I mentioned, is called C3E. It is between DOE, MIT, and Stanford. and it started. It is on the 11th year this year, so it's running for 11 years. And the main target of this initiative is mainly to support women that they want to work on the clean energy. Yes. During the symposium, it's a one-day symposium. They give 8 awards to different categories that they actually highlight 8 women that they did a difference within their career on clean energy. And then there is the Lifetime Achievement Award, which is an older lady, if you like, that has contributed massively in clean energy. During the symposium are these awards, and then we have some panels and some keynote speakers that they're actually our inspiration and our strength to continue and to move forward. There are a lot of discussions on current topics and hot topics, if you like, and you have the opportunity to interact with 150 to 250, depends on what our size is going to be this year, of women that they're by invitation only. So these women there have been, let's say, selected to come together and discuss and talk, and all of them, they are actually are like mentors to younger generations. Yes. During the event also, we have a poster session for students. So we invite students from all the universities that they work on energy, on clean energy, and they have the opportunity to meet, women and ask their advice. Yes. And throughout this year, we have great relationships. They are great relationships that have been built up. Yes. And this is, also very exciting. So this is one big initiative, which is also very important for Texas A&M. And I will keep leading it from Qatar. So it's going to be a challenge to organize it at Washington from distance. But my greatest colleagues at Washington, D.C. From DOE, they will support me on that. Now, that's one initiative that is running for a few years now. Another initiative that we hope that we will be able to announce it when we will be on our symposium. It's a book on energy education that I work together with Director of Education from MIT Energy Institute. And it's contributions from different people that they work on energy. And we actually try to put together some informations, if you like, of when you would like to create a new course, when would you like to create a new curriculum, what is important. Yes. And there are experts on the different levels and the different categories that they have contributed. And we are now on the final, let's say, revision of the chapters, and we are really thrilled to that, because something like that does not exist, and energy is so important as a sector. And a lot of the universities, they are creating new degrees, and they invest on that, but it's very important to create those courses and the curriculum on the right level of what it is needed from the industry also perspective, or academia also.
This is so incredibly important, and I commend your work, because I think that clean energy, the topics, the discussions are extremely important. And unfortunately, sometimes to me, if you turn on the radio or you turn on the television, I feel sometimes clean energies are sometimes pitted against each other, that it's almost competitive, that who's better or who's more viable and that type of thing, when I wish the discussion was more inclusive. So I love what you're doing, and I love the fact that so much of your effort is on women. And in so many countries, as you know, every culture is different. Their standards of relationships and men and women, their roles and responsibilities are vastly different. But I think one aspect that transcends many if not most, cultures is that women are responsible for rearing their children in most cultures, and it's vitally important that we continue and are intentional about involving women because they're ultimately the first educators of children that will eventually be our students and then eventually being leaders at some point. So this is just incredibly important, and I commend your work so very, very much. I want to know, as I have so many questions that I want to ask you, and I'm trying to be sensitive to the time, but my goodness, I want to know for you and maybe for the audience to get your perspective on just a brief description of what clean energy is to you, how you would describe it to just the general public, and also your definition of sustainability, because we hear those words all the time, but from your perspective, how would you describe those two terms?
Sure. So I would first of all say clean energy and sustainability, they have so many terms and they keep changing and we keep adding, and from my perspective, I would say very simple, to someone if they would like to know, not on a scientific way, if you like. Clean energy is the production of the energy that we use with a cleaner way, meaning that the outputs, if you like, to the environment, it's not so harmful, or the resources that they're used is not so harmful for the environment. That's as much with the simplest way. Yes. I would also like to add of what you were saying earlier before I move to what it's for me it's sustainability. I would say something simple. I mean, energy is so important that if it was not energy, we wouldn't have been here right now. Everything, connected with needs energy. I remember a very good friend of mine. She is the CEO of Ally. I think she calls that. Katie Mechner. She walked in one room when I first met her, and she said, "Well, I'll switch off the lights, and let's see, if we can actually do this without the lights." And everybody was shocked because it was impossible. Absolutely. So she said that's why energy is important. So for me, that was highlighted the importance for someone that wants to work on energy, and especially clean energy. So great for everyone that works on the energy sector. You do more benefit, much more benefits for the environment if you work on the clean energy. Yes. Sustainability for me is something that you sustain. It says it is by itself. So you want to have a baseline on things, and you really have to promote it and to enhance it on actually to. We need to work towards the sustainability. We need to work towards the sustainable way of living, not mainly only for us, but also for our children, okay? Just to be on a cleaner environment. If we look back, we've grown up on a much, let's say, quieter environment and maybe a little bit cleaner. Nowadays, with all, the, let's say, transportation and all the technology and if we add onto the list, that has changed that balance. And, the outputs, the production of outputs, especially for the environment and the impact to the environment, and obviously, we see that through the climate change, what is going on right now, and everybody is focusing on that. It is very important to take action and to consider and add that sustainability and also the community perspective on whatever we do. I think this is too important because, if we can see the effects of the climate change, and these effects will come towards to the community, yes, and they will have to go through. So teaching the younger ones from a young age of what they should do, as an example, recycling. Okay,
Yes.
that will be a great benefit, when they will grow up, so they will be ready, because we had to learn all this as we were growing up, and I'm not sure, how many of my friends they do that.
Right, right. So as I'm looking things over, I also want to ask you about, I guess it's really just about the next steps in what we all need to do. And what I admire so much about your work and all these initiatives is the intention that you take to develop partnerships that go across sectors.
Mm-hmm.
You not only work with universities, institutions of education, but you also work with agencies and governments and probably elected officials and all the rest. But why are those relationships important, those outside of your normal sector? Why is that important?
So I would say I'm not closely related, but through the work that I'm involved, we interact with such people, and mainly they are important because they are the people that will get the decisions,
Yes.
but they need to be informed. And that is why it's important to get involved and involve policymakers also in whatever we do. Mainly, they will need to make the decision so as to make it, let's say, as a standardized procedure, if you like.
Yes.
And it is critical, it is very important to see, let's say, the alerts from us. And we, as academics and scientists, we need to do that, that we should communicate it. I mean, but one way, I think, to do that is with simple words.
Yes.
Even,
Yes.
When we are on a conference, we can use all the scientific terminologies and everything. But when we talk to the public or when we talk to people that they're making the decisions, we need to speak their language so as to be able to communicate to them straight, because we produce reports, we produce papers.
There's a certain way we speak. A certain way, yes.
And like us, everybody's busy, and they're not going to read 50 pages report, so it has to be a shorter communication and a shorter, let's say, much faster communication to everyone, to the public with a much simpler words, and to make them aware of things, of if they do that, instead of something else. And to the government to be on a much faster way. We saw all the communications, for example, that they came out when the Texas freeze happened.
Yes.
And they from scientists, and they started to get alert of what is happening, because they got informed on a much faster way. Because everything was there, all the information was there throughout these years, but it's kind of, they reached out to the scientists and they got informed on a shorter period of time with a much simpler way.
That's so important. And all these individuals from different sectors, they all have their sphere of influence, and they all have their abilities to make decisions within those spheres. So it is important to engage across different sectors that maybe you normally wouldn't consider. But as we begin to close out our chat today, I want to know, is there anything that you'd like to talk about or to make comment about before we do end our conversation today?
No, but the only thing I would say is the following: to all, especially to all the young women that they want to follow their dream, is mainly be persistent. And I would also use a word from someone that has passed away, that be relentless.
I love that word.
Which for me initially didn't make sense when he first shared that with me, but as when he passed away, and then I stayed and worked and focused on my work, I realized the importance of that. And as a woman, we have to be like that. And one last thing, if you have a male colleague and then you go to an event like that it is related with empowerment of women, bring him with you, mainly because they have to learn. Also, they need to be informed, because when they learn and they find out why it's important to support the women, they get smoother and they get supportive more.
That's beautiful. It gives them a new perspective as well.
Exactly.
So one of my final questions for you, and it's just because I have to ask, and as I was going over your background, you did so much research on soil.
Yep.
Okay. I know we're closing out the interview, but I just have one question, and I know it could be a whole lecture, I'm sure a whole course, but why is soil so important? And why should the general public know the importance of soil?
Okay.
I love this so much.
So yes, that is right. So my PhD and my master was focused on soil. Postdoc probably was part of that. And I'll step back a little bit, and I'll say when I had to choose on which direction I will go for my studies, I wanted actually to go on either something related to design or something related to flowers, mainly because I grown up with these models. Like my mom had a big garden, so I was always helping her.
Yes.
Okay, so I followed the path more on the flowers and research and agriculture and things like that. So when I was a student back there, I realized also the importance of the soil, okay, mainly because it's the start of everything.
Yes, it is.
I wouldn't like to say, that everything comes from the soil and goes back to the soil, but what I would say is it's the start of everything, okay?
Yes.
Mainly, we will see the importance growing of the food and growing of what we eat in the next year. It's going to be heavily affected, the supply chain on the food, and we need to be very careful, mainly due to the situation what's happening right now in Europe, and that will have a big effect on the supply chain, and agriculture. So if we think about that, such an event is influencing the supply chain, and soil, it's very important because everything is growing there, and it has to grow with a healthy and with a healthy way, not like on hydroponics or aquaponics, which I worked in the past, but which is our ways to produce food and to provide food to the population. But soil, it is the start again of everything. So the more we take care of it, the more we will benefit ourselves and the next generations to come.
That wasn't fair for me to ask you such a brief but very deep question about soil, but we'll have to have you on just for a whole conversation about soil. But I think soil is, again, one of those topics. It doesn't matter if it's political, biblical,
no,
whatever it is, economical, nutritional, everything begins and ends with soil. So when I saw that you had so much research behind that, again, I would just love to learn more about your research.
Sure.
But thank you so much. And what we'll do is we'll plan, hopefully once you're there in Qatar and you're established, maybe perhaps we can have another conversation.
That sounds great.
Maybe via Zoom next time.
That sounds great. Thank you.
But to our audience, thank you so much for being with us today. I hope you've had the opportunity to listen to the entire conversation and all of our other conversations. And like Dr. Pappa today, I hope you all are relentless in finding new knowledge and also achieving your goals. Thank you and have a great day.